Hey everyone, I have a fantastic interview for you today. I'm joined now by the founder of the Young Turks, the founder of Wolfpack, the co-founder of Justice Democrats, and now running as a congressional candidate in California's 25th district, Cenk Uygur. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, David. Great to be here.
So before we get into your race, which is going to be most of this interview, I want to get your thoughts on the impeachment inquiry into Donald Trump. So how Republicans essentially right now are refusing to acknowledge that Trump is a criminal, and on the other side, how Democrats are handling this and how you may handle it differently.
Yeah, so Republicans are on a completely different planet, and one of the things that frustrates me is the mainstream media pretending that we have a Trump exception. No, Trump is the rule, not the exception. The entire Republican Party is backing him and his lunatic alternative theories and alternative facts. So they're all guilty. They're all culpable. You see them all over TV talking about conspiracy theories in Ukraine. So I blame the entire National Republican Party. In terms of the Democrats, look, I thought the impeachment should have gone broader because any crimes you don't bring up, it makes it seem like he didn't do. Well, he did. He did 10 counts of obstruction of justice on the Russian investigation. Mueller pointed that out. His co-conspirator on the hush money payments is in prison as we speak, and he should be in prison as well. So I would have gone harder. I would have gone broader. But to be fair, it looks like they really got him on Ukraine, and they've done a pretty stand-up job on that.
Yeah. So do you feel the potential focus here on the Ukraine call maybe makes it easier? I mean, this is the argument that Democrats use, that focusing on this call to Ukraine makes it easier for the public to, I guess, absorb what is actually happening. Do you think that that's a good case, or do you think that bringing everything in, whether it's the emoluments clause or obstruction of justice, do you think bringing everything in actually would lead to a better case, even if it may be too much information for the public to consume?
No, it's always an excuse. They always treat the public with great disrespect. Like, oh, they won't be able to understand what hush money payments are. Why not? That's super easy to understand. They wouldn't be able to understand that his co-conspirator is in prison for that same crime. That's the easiest thing in the world to understand. Yeah. No, it's just for some reason, David, the Democratic Party does not want to talk about Donald Trump's finances. And it is really curious. Look, it's the oldest thing in the book. Follow the money. And his sons, including Eric Trump, have said, we got all of our money from the Russians. And asked by a golf writer why, he said, oh, the Russians love golf. It's preposterous. Yeah. Bring in Alan Weisselberg, who's the CFO of the Trump organization. He's willing to cooperate anyway. He can tell you about all the criminalities. So, look, are there some bounds of reason where people would say, hey, guys, man, you're throwing the kitchen sink at him, and that one's a bridge too far? Yes. On the other hand, I'd much rather go broader so people get a sense of like, wow, this guy's an enormous criminal. What law didn't he break?
Yeah. So let's go on to your race now. So you're a busy guy. You run a business. I mean, you've co-founded Wolfpack. You have other things going on. What prompted you to make this decision to run, and how did you know that you were ready to potentially be a congressperson and move on from all the work you're doing right now?
Well, the second part is the easier part to answer. How did I know I was ready to be a congressperson? It doesn't take much. Okay. Have you seen Congress people? Yeah. Outside of the Justice Democrats, basically sit like a bump on a log. In fact, that's why I didn't want to run historically my whole life. I'm like, well, I'm going to go there and just be like proud that I'm a congressperson and I have some sort of pride and ego, but they don't get anything done. Right. Yeah. But as we saw with the Justice Democrats, no, it turns out if you try, you can get a lot done. So Ro Khanna worked with Bernie Sanders to raise wages for everyone who worked at Amazon. That was amazing. And it totally worked. You know, obviously AOC put Green New Deal on the map. And then you look at Ilhan Omar and what she's doing for public housing. It turns out, no, there's a ton that could be done if you're in Congress, if you actually try. Now, which brings me to why I'm running in particular. Look, anyone who's watched the Young Turks or seen any of the groups that I've founded knows my main issue is the corruption, getting money out of politics. So unfortunately, nobody else was saying it. So I did what I tell my audience all the time. If nobody else is willing to do it and somebody asks who's going to be an agent of change, raise your hand. And so, look, the campaign money that comes from corporations is a bribe. Everyone knows it's a bribe, but no one says it. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
No one says the most obvious thing in the world, and the thing that is the single most important factor in politics that controls our entire government. It's the money. It's the bribes. ExxonMobil never gives a politician money for charity. They give it to buy them. Everybody knows it. So I was like, since no one's saying it, I'm going to jump in and I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure that people understand that it's the bribery that's causing all of their other problems, including wages, health care, in the environment, and I can go on and on.
So this kind of leads into my next question here. The entire Democratic Party establishment and the corporate establishment is against you. So Katie Hill, who vacated the seat, has endorsed Christy Smith. Senator Dianne Feinstein has now just added herself to the list of list of Democrats that have endorsed Christy Smith. How do you deal with having the corporate interests and the party interests on the side of another candidate and not on you?
I love it. I love the idea that they're like, are you hurt that Dianne Feinstein didn't endorse you? I would have been hurt if she had.
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing wrong? Why is this person who's been a corporate Democrat her whole life, massively conservative, far too conservative for California, endorsing me? I would have been puzzled by that. So, no, I'm happy that the Democratic Party machine has decided that they've handpicked someone. Well, I got bad news for them. That's not how democracy works. Soon the voters are going to get to handpick their own candidate, and my guess is it's going to be me. So when the machine comes in and says, we've anointed a centrist Democrat and no progressive should run against them, I've seen that movie before. It was called 2016. How'd that work out for us?
Yeah. And
the Democratic Party leadership told us, no, we're really smart, and you progressives don't know what you're doing. We know how to beat Donald Trump. We picked a bland status quo politician like Hillary Clinton, and she is perfectly equipped to defeat Donald Trump. Turns out she was about the only person who could lose to Donald Trump. So this is the same exact situation. They say, oh, we have a corporate status quo loving Democrat that we have handpicked. So she'll be the best person to beat Republicans in that district. No. The best person to beat a Republican in that district is someone who actually wants to fight Republicans, not agree with them.
Mm-hmm. So another aspect of this is the media. So I've noticed a sort of a new strategy now by the media is sort of not even to just discuss progressives at all and kind of just have this blackout. You kind of see with Bernie Sanders, he often is just completely ignored in the mainstream press. Now, for a congressional race, there's going to be less media in general, but because this was Katie Hill's seat, there may be a little more focus on this. Are you expecting to, be handed a seat in the press? I mean, I saw you on Cuomo. Is there going to be more examples of that where your name's actually going to be out there to the public and not necessarily just to or just within progressive circles?
Yeah. So first of all, we can get right around the media. Cenk2020.com. Go and check it out for yourselves. Look at the issues. Look at the website. It's driving them crazy that I'm getting so many small dollar donations. So drive the establishment nuts. Support me. Volunteer. Donate if you can. All right. So in terms of the mainstream media, yes, I tell all the Just Democratic candidates in the last cycle and in this cycle, especially in the last cycle, expect them to ignore you. And then when they cover you, expect them to cover you dismissively and derisively. Now, this cycle, it's gotten better, actually, because AOC won and the squad won. So now the press is a little worried that they're going to miss a big story. So they've done a better job of covering people like Jessica Cisneros in the Texas and Marie Newman in Illinois. By the way, you should definitely support both of them and all the Just Democrats, justdemocrats.com. We need as many progressives in office as we possibly can. But the second part of what I tell them is when the press comes, they'll usually be negative. And if they're going to give you any attention at all, it'll be to attack you. So I'm not a rookie. I'm not naive about this. I knew almost all the attacks would be negative, or all the coverage would be negative. The right wing already did Oppo research on me. In fact, it's interesting. Some of the corporate Democrats are now planting stories in blogs like Red State, which are right-wing websites. So this is the right wing and the establishment Democrats in California have gotten together in their hatred of me. Yeah. And they should. The right wing should hate me. The corrupt corporate Democrats should dislike me because I am going to end the bribery and I'm going to end their gravy train. And I'm going to point out every corrupt Democrat and every corrupt Republican. I'm going to totally embarrass them on the national stage.
Mm-hmm. So I guess that one question here that comes up, and I think it's a fair question. You're not from the district, so if anybody else was running in a race where they aren't from the district, we would question why they're running. I think it's obvious why you're running. You actually care about the issues. But how do you deal with not being from the district, and what have you learned from? I assume you've been in the district now, talking to people there. So the second part of this question: what issues do they care about that you are going to fight for?
Yeah, 100%. So first of all, I think it's a bizarre idea that people say, hey, listen, I'm going to vote for someone I don't agree with because they live 20 minutes closer to me than you do. I find that perplexing. If you gave me that option, hey, Bernie Sanders lives 20 minutes from you and John Delaney lives right next to you. John Delaney hates Medicare for all, would never do it, is against Green New Deal, etc. Who are you going to vote for? How's that a question? Of course I'm going to vote for the guy who totally agrees with me 20 minutes away. Mm-hmm. But yes, we are going to move to the district. And of course, you've got to live in that community if you're going to represent them. So that's the real question, David. Who is going to represent these voters better? So people that are not familiar with district won't know that the establishment Democrats have totally ignored half the district that is poorer, that is more rural, that is more Latino. It's called the Antelope Valley. It's Palmdale and Lancaster. They have terrible traffic up there. They've got lower wages, worse schools, and the establishment has done nothing for them. They've totally taken them for granted. So I asked around why. I mean, that's where more of the Democratic voters are. Why do they take them for granted? Because they can't fundraise there. Isn't that gross? No, I'm going to go represent those voters way better than anyone in the establishment has ever represented them in the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. So there you've got great potential for more solar jobs, more wind energy jobs, higher paying jobs. So traffic is terrible because everybody has to leave the area to go to go work elsewhere, when in reality we could bring jobs to that area with higher wages. You've got terrible pollution all over the district. Boeing has polluted the waters in Simi Valley. And what have the Republican and Democratic incumbents done? Nothing. And you're going to be shocked to find out some of them take money from Boeing. So these people are not ever going to represent you. So whether it's the school shootings, you know how I am on that. I'm going to point out that Mitch McConnell takes bribes from the NRA. That's why we have no action on federal background checks, semi-automatic weapons, and on it goes. The district is literally on fire. It's because of the private utility companies that should be public. You've got CMEX polluting the area. I mean, there is a host of tremendous problems there that their politicians have done nothing about. And that's because they're hooked on the money. I'm not. So I'm going to come in there and I'm going to represent those people like they've never seen.
So you briefly mentioned this this piece. There's actually a viral video of you that's going around now where you were calling out Mitch McConnell, calling him a son of a bitch.
This son of a bitch, Mitch McConnell, did it. Okay?
Hey, that's the energy we want to hear.
Okay?
Exactly. So the Democratic Party really hasn't seen anything like this before. How can you move the narrative along on the NRA, on these bribes, on gun violence, when already the entire public is on your side? The Democratic Party, surprisingly, is on your side. How can you move this narrative along? And do you think that strategy of just, calling Mitch McConnell a son of a bitch, do you think that will in itself help to move this narrative out there?
100%. So listen to what you said in the early part of the question, David. You said the Democratic Party never does this. Yeah. That's exactly right. That's why they never get any results. So let's take that issue of federal background checks. I mean, it's the biggest layup in politics. 97% of Americans want federal background checks. Overwhelming majority of gun owners, overwhelming majority of NRA members want federal background checks. Yet we don't have them. Is the problem that we need 98% or 99%? Of course not. The problem is that Mitch McConnell won't bring it up for a vote in the Senate. So the Democrats did their part. They pass it in the House. Then they send it over to the Senate. And then they sit there. No, wrong. Completely and utterly wrong. Then the Speaker of the House should get up and give a speech. And if she's not going to, I will, because I could be in Congress as early as March 4th. Okay, Cenk2020.com. I'm going to get up on the floor of the House and say the guy who did it is Mitch McConnell. And the next time there's a school shooting, everyone in the country should blame Mitch McConnell. because he refuses to do what 97% of Americans want, a federal background check. So now how easy is that? What happens next? Well, Mitch McConnell has to respond. Now he's playing defense. We're playing offense because that is correct. Then people in Kentucky start asking him, hey, are you in favor of school shootings? Hey, why don't you pass something or even allow for a vote on an issue that 97% of Americans agree on? See how easy it is? Mm-hmm. And the reason that we never get any action is because the Democrats refuse to fight. Well, that comes to an end on March 4th. Whether they like it or not, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to fight Republicans mercilessly. Mm-hmm. Cenk2020.com.
So we've seen how resistant the Democratic Party establishment is to change. We've seen how resistant they are to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and other Justice Democrats. How can you, so if you're going in there as this firebrand, how will you be able to, I guess, get committee assignments, or how will you be able to actually affect change apart from maybe, media appearances? Like with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer at the helm, can anything really get done, even if you are in Congress?
So the way to get it done is to fight them. And so a lot of people go in, and under normal circumstances for non-just Democrats, what they do is, oh, congratulations on winning. Oh, you presented yourself as a champion of the people. That was a cute little trick. Now, suck up to us so that you can get committee assignments and these little morsels that we're going to throw your way. And then you'll be a congressman forever because we'll shovel all the money towards you and you'll be able to win as an incumbent. And congratulations, you have power. To what end? Right? To no end at all, to maintain the status quo. Me, I don't care about their morsels. I don't care about how they're going to beseech me and try to appease me with giving me a little bit more power. No, thank you. So what do you do instead? So right now they're debating a drug bill. It's the only thing they're working on in Congress. And the Democratic Party said to their voters, and part of the reason why they won the last round of elections is, we're going to negotiate drug prices. Then they get into power and they go, just kidding. We're not going to do that. We're only going to do that for 25 drugs out of the thousands and thousands of drugs there are. Why? Because a lot of the Democrats take drug company money, period. It's the bribes. Yeah. So now, have you ever seen a fellow Democrat go on the floor of the House and say, my Democratic colleagues are taking bribes from drug companies? I can show you hundreds of thousands of dollars that those Democratic so-called colleagues have taken from the drug industry. Why are we only talking about 25 drugs? They have no leg to stand on. It should be all drugs that we negotiate prices on. Of course, it's the government that's paying it. Why would we tie our hands behind our back? It's all a trick to appear progressive while doing absolutely nothing. And if I'm in Congress, I'm not going to let them get away with it. Yes, it'll be different, completely amazing. And they will rip their hair out going, no, those are your beloved colleagues. You cannot point out that they also take bribes. Wrong. I can point it out, and I will point it out. Cenk2020.com.
So last question here. This race is in a jungle primary. Can you explain when the voting day is and how this jungle primary, how this whole process works?
Yes. So if you notice me, I said I might be a congressman as early as March 4th. So the primary is on March 3rd. So that is a fascinating and all-important date. That's Super Tuesday. So everybody's voting at the presidential level, including in California. California is part of Super Tuesday. And it's in our race, we have two main Democrats, me, the progressive, and the other person who's the status quo. And then you've got a whole heap of Republicans. And they're splitting up the votes 8-way to Sunday. They've got a bunch of rich Republicans in there, a bunch of corrupt Republicans, a Trump Republican. So they're going to split up their vote. And right now, I think I can get the whole Democratic Party voters to coalesce around me. So the Democratic Party always says, whoever has more money is the official candidate. Well, because of you guys, because of the small donations, we've had over 14,000 individual contributions. Right now, I have more money. Sad day for them. I guess I'm the favorite. Christie should probably get out of the race. She's splitting up the vote. And I am way more, literally thousands of more volunteers and by every metric. But so you vote in the primaries, and this is a rare situation where we're on the ballot twice. So you could actually vote for me twice because we're on for the special election primary and the November primary. It's on the same day on the same ballot.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So now whoever's the top two goes on to the November election no matter what. Whoever's top two in the special election primary goes on to the May 12th election. That's the special election. Now, if someone gets above 50%, though, it's immediately over for the special election, not for the November election, but for the special election, you would immediately become a congressman. So I plan to get over 50% because the voters have never seen a message like this. They said, why would they vote for a Republican that was already in office, that already robbed them blind, supported Donald Trump 98% of the time, supported Donald Trump's tax cuts for the rich, which actually increased taxes in our district. The Republican increased taxes in our district so that he could benefit his Republican donors. The corporate Democrat has literally no support. I think we checked the first half of the year. She had 22 human beings who donated her. 22 versus 14,000, right? So let's steamroll them. Let's get above 50% and win this thing outright on March 3rd. So if you're in 25th District, you're in Simi Valley, Santa Clarita, Acton, Palmdale, Lancaster, Agua Dulce, all those places, come vote for me. Really important. And if you're not, come volunteer. Give me those small dollar donations that are scaring the bejesus out of the Democratic establishment. Cenk2020.com.
So I'll have that link below as well, below the video. And Cenk Uygur, thanks for joining me, and good luck in your race.
Thank you, David. Really appreciate it.